What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another video. And today we're discussing classic physique Mr. Olympia Chris Bumstead and his off-season cycle, how much he uses, also which PEDs he has and hasn't used before. That was all on RxMuscle, and it's very, very interesting. Also, IFBB Pro Contest winner Michael Lockett is downsized, and also which pro will almost certainly miss the 2020 contest season, and it's a big name. All that and more coming up in this video, guys. I hope you really enjoy it. What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and before we get into this video, I want to encourage you guys, if you like the content, please give me a thumbs up, smash the like button, also subscribe, hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. We've got bodybuilding news, bodybuilding history, heaps of interviews going up lately with guys such as Jay Cutler, Brandon Curry, the list goes on. So make sure you do subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that. But let's get into this video, because the main story of the video, we're going to leave that one till last, so it's Chris Bumstead and his whole cycle, but we're going to launch into talking about Michael Lockett. Now, this is perhaps one of the most genetically gifted by everything we've heard going around and what this guy actually does nutrition-wise and training-wise, because I've heard things like his diet is just, ridiculous in terms of what he eats and in terms of not eating a lot of food, and he just absolutely grows like crazy, and he stays in condition year round, and he typically stays pretty big year round. So Michael's still looking great. I mean, when you look at him in this photo, you're like, okay, he's still pretty lean. He's just a bit downsized on what he was, last year, the year before, because he has placed really well, competed in the Olympia, as I said at the start of this video, and he's a really solid competitor. He's had a few issues in terms of his leg size discrepancy between his left and right leg and a few things like that, but honestly, the dude looks sensational and always brings razor sharp conditioning, but I assume he's definitely out for the 2020 contest season. Now, another guy that might be out as well is Luke Sando, because he made a mention that he was thinking about sitting out the 2020 contest season anyway. And he sort of said that in his podcast with Fuad Abiad, and that's on Fuad Abiad's YouTube channel as well. The podcast is called Bodybuilding and Bollocks. And Luke is a guy that he made mention on this as well, but he's got the size, and he said if he doesn't train for ages and then starts training, he'll be back pretty quick soon afterwards and doesn't really lose much size. So that's I suppose a luxury that he's got. And you find a lot of these guys, once they get to this really big Mr. Olympia, not necessarily Mr. Olympia winning, but Mr. Olympia stage worthy size, they can sometimes back off a little bit and then train up and then sort of get back there. And he's one of the bigger dudes too. So you saw, Ronnie Coleman post Olympia would have 3 months off. Kevin Levrone, back when he competed, would have half a year off apparently. And these guys have, several months off every year. And I think sometimes it's actually healthier for their body, because I used to always look at it and see Ronnie Coleman, he had 3 months off post Olympia. Imagine if he trained the whole year, how much better he'd be. Maybe he wouldn't have been. Maybe his body would have got overtired by that time, and he wasn't, wouldn't have been able to put in the, the crazy intensity that he actually did throughout his career. So Luke Sando, it seems like he'll probably be missing the 2020 contest season, unless things get underway, I suppose, pretty soon from this whole pandemic. But let's launch on to our main story of this video, Chris Bumstead and his cycle. So people are really interested in this sort of stuff. How much do these guys use? And there's a bunch of channels out there that actually, literally guess what sort of cycle guys are on in terms of actors like The Rock and Mr. Olympia competitors and all that sort of stuff, just through stuff they've heard, through what they're assuming by, if a guy's holding a lot of water, they'll predict that he's taking stuff that holds more fluid. It's sort of ridiculous, to be honest, because I think, predicting what guys are using and taking that's, illegal in many countries is sort of a weird sort of a concept. But Chris Bumstead went on RxMuscle with Dave Palumbo, and basically they said, Chris, Ian Valier, who's actually Chris's brother-in-law, because he's married to Chris's sister, and he's actually his prep coach as well. And Ian Valier's actually competed at the Olympia too, so he's obviously very knowledgeable, and he's a huge dude. Now, he goes on and says if Chris is taking over 500 milligrams of test a week in his off-season, that's an aggressive cycle. So Chris is obviously a guy that doesn't use a lot, and Chris said at the start, you would laugh at what I'm what I take. And I'm going to play the video in a minute for you guys as well. And then they go on to say he's never used Slin or growth as well, which is a massive statement too. And, you know, I believe it, to be honest with you guys. He seems like one of these guys like a Callum Von Moger, Chris Bumstead does, but just seems like, you know, he's got things, I won't say easy, because I'm sure when he preps for the Olympia, he pushes himself and he gets in great condition. But in terms of, you know, if he was walking around doing what most guys did, in terms of, you know, going to the gym and eating an okay diet, I think Chris would look better than 99.9% of guys out there. So obviously he's got genetics on his side, which is great for him. And he's only a young dude as well. So I think it's great that he's, you know, really taking his health into consideration, because he has got a health issue as well. And I suppose it really does work for him that he's able to, you know, still compete and able to use less gear than most of the guys out there. But I'm going to play the clip now, and I'll be back to wrap up the video after that.
I mean, obviously, you know, speaking for Chris, obviously, as you know, with his autoimmune stuff like that, right, never any point where he's pushing anything ever, whether it's prep or off season or anything.
The average person would laugh.
They would laugh.
You wouldn't believe if you.
You know,
they knew what I was
yeah,
doing.
I mean,
well, what do you do? Like, what's a typical recycle for you now?
Chris in the off season, if he's doing more than 500 milligrams of test by itself, that's an aggressive off season.
Really? Wow.
And no, he's never done growth hormone in his life. I'll speak for that for him. Never touched it. Wow. Never used it.
Or
doesn't use insulin. Never has used it. He's using no drugs other than, you know, a half cc a test twice a week. That's it. Like,
now,
my training wouldn't have changed at all. But like, I didn't want to push anything without the prep coming because of my health stuff. Right. So like, of course, we keep training because that's what we love to do. But like, I didn't want anything else to have to change from my like kind of coasting, being healthy throughout the year.
Right. And did you start doing lower amounts, like when you found out you had this, you know, that IgA issue?
Probably just before we knew we had a name for it, but we knew something was going on. Sure. I mean, I've never. It's always been crazy.
And you look just as good, if not better.
Yeah, Chris has always been. I mean, I can speak because I'm obviously doing his protocols. I mean, he's never needed much. Like, you know, it's always been very conservative, and we've just kind of kept it there because he's continually succeeded with what we've been using. So there's no reason to push it. And then obviously when the autoimmune kind of came more into play, then that was even more of like take a step back and just be like, okay, you know, we don't need much. Let's just keep that in our mind.
When you look at yourself, Chris, in the mirror and you say, well, you know what, I'm the Olympia champ. I mean, people should be trying to emulate what I'm doing. There's really no reason for you to push the envelope at this point. I mean, right?
Like for me to push any more, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're the Olympia ideal at this point. I think the reason why you look as good as you do and you're doing as well is because you're not pushing the GH and insulin. You got the small waistline. You're not screwing it up. You know,
for sure. A big part of it when I started too was Ian kind of came in as like family, and it was like most of it was kind of like keep my brother safe, you know, and it was like minimal, and I kept seeing improvement. I'm still 25 years old. If I can't be making, right. I'm in this age, and like there's no way I'm tapped out of my genetic potential.
Right. So there it is, straight from Chris Bumstead and Ian Valier on Chris Bumstead's gear usage, what he does and doesn't do. So hope you guys enjoyed that bit of info, because I saw this go up on RxMuscle and I thought, wow, like this actually needs to be highlighted. Went up about a week ago, but I didn't hear too many people speak about it. So hope you guys at least found that a bit interesting. And while all this news is going on at the moment in terms of, you know, lockdown and all that sort of stuff, you guys might not be working. I hope that brought a bit of entertainment to you guys. So I've also got some shout outs as well. And I want to mention as well, I just did a video with Jay Cutler, and he talks about weed in bodybuilding and is it good and is it bad. And he's got his whole cultivation business that he's got with the weed too. So that's a very interesting video. So I'll put a card up now while this is going, and also I'll put the link in the description as well. But I've got some shout outs for you guys. So I've got a whole bunch I'm going to put here. And if you guys hear your name shouted out, make sure you comment below so I know that you guys are still watching. So Adam John Waite, he's a classic physique pro here in Australia. Kurt James, Michael Galley, who I recorded the podcast with, the new one, so make sure you check that out. Ben Patullo, Dean Palmer, Lee Carmichael, Aussie Beef on YouTube, who actually came up with the name of our new show, which is the Weekly Bodybuilding Breakdown. We've got Sean Bangu, we've got Craig Winter, Freddie Torres, Jose El Costa, Taylor G. Cantley. We've got Classic Savage Official on Instagram. Aaron Pilates, IFBB Pro, 9th in the world. Mark Gretsch, Jared Brody Gretsch. So a few names there for you guys. So the way that those guys got shouted out, they shared a bunch of stuff on Instagram. They've encouraged me. They commented on my YouTube videos, all that sort of stuff. So if you guys do that, you got more of a chance of being shouted out. I'm going to do more of these these group ones as well, because I'm seeing you guys put up a ton of stuff on Instagram and tag me, and I'm sharing that stuff back out. So if you're putting anything on Instagram, tag in at Xavier A. Wills, tag in at Desktop Bodybuilding, and I'll share them out off both my accounts as well, because I'd like to see you guys in all these countries around the world, you know, watching me and putting it on your stories and then tagging me in it. It's like, that's like a thrill for me, and it like motivates me to put out more videos, so it's much appreciated. So if you guys like this content, please give me a thumbs up. It really does help. Smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. But anyway guys, for Xavier Wills, Desktop Bodybuilding, we are out.